it became very clear that you just can't go and say, hey, these are decades of well-known, battle-tested software engineering best practices. All you have to do is to take them and apply them to a team of data scientists.
Was it actually, in fact, a spark, a pivotal moment where you realized this was a wonderful career for you? Or was it this slow kind of methodical progress towards a career or towards this understanding and interest in data?
I would say that in my case, it was a process. So when I originally started, I am first and foremost a software engineer. I mean, I've been doing this ever since I can remember, and I actually been building a lot of stuff related to developer tooling. I got also very interested in data visualizations early on, but I was always pretty much a software engineer. I kind of got deep into some topics around programming languages, advanced debuggers and similar things. And as I just got deeper and deeper into this topic, I started to contribute to a bunch of open source projects and trying to see how far we can push the whole experience. Then suddenly, I essentially became a CTO of a data analytics company. And even though I had some background before, mainly in machine learning and data science, this was kind of really an eye-opening moment for me. As a CTO, I was suddenly managing two teams. I was managing both an engineering team, and I was also managing a data science team. And it became very clear that you just can't go and say, hey, these are decades of well-known, battle-tested software engineering best practices. All you have to do is to take them and apply them to a team of data scientists. So we started to iterate and experiment on how we can better set up the processes and the workflows in our data science team. And as you can imagine, well, data science is relatively younger industry. The tools are not as mature as we might be expecting them from software engineering world. And we have seen this quite heavily. Like essentially, all the tools that we had at our disposal as data scientists and data analysts were essentially a transformation of some kind of tool which was really built for software engineers. So when we are talking about, how do we access databases? Like traditionally, you are still mostly using like SQL editors and, like these old school tools which were primarily built for database admins, not as much for analysts. If you're writing your models, you are again thrown into this IDE world. Like essentially, you have all these super powerful tools, but then again, they were more built for like debugging of your code and shipping real large stuff and scaling it across, like hundreds of servers. There was really that element of exploration that was missing. And that was actually quite an interesting realization that the exploratory programming has been around for quite some time. It just kind of taken a backseat over the past couple of decades as people have been more and more focused on software engineering. It was only in a couple of recent years where data science kind of became again a thing big enough to revive some of those older ideas. So for example, like to be more concrete, what I mean by this, when data science notebooks came along, like for example, when Jupyter was released, this was kind of seen as a pretty big deal for data scientists. Suddenly you were not required to be spending your time in the code editor, optimized for different things. You could have been spending your time in an environment which was focused on exploration, on fast prototyping, on iteration, on communicating of your ideas. Like just the idea of putting a piece of text into your code editor is kind of strange. But if you're a data scientist and you are doing this on a daily basis, it's kind of like bread and butter. Like you have some finding, and of course you're going to be communicating what you found there and describing the process behind it. Like of course you're going to be including plenty of charts and visualizations in your process. So when data science notebooks came along, this was really like a really good fit for data science workflows, but I would say their origins are actually can be traced back all the way to like 1950s and 1960s, like when we were thinking about this first wave of artificial intelligence, because back then it was mostly about exploration and all the tools were built around exploration. It just, over the course of the upcoming decades, I kind of call it like the Java world took over, and suddenly like everyone was like using these like heavyweight IDs, and it kind of stuck with us. So my background and my introduction to data science was essentially looking at all these tools, trying to keep the data science team as productive as possible, trying to communicate all those findings, and realizing that tools that are currently the standard, meaning all these traditional software like code editors and for example Git for versioning, didn't really fit the workflows that we are seeing. So that was my introduction and my kind of nudge towards exploring this a bit further. And now I don't want to say that software engineering tools are not great. They are absolutely amazing, and I did spend a lot of time in that environment, but they were built for something different. And we realized that from all these things that we have learned as a whole industry and literally decades of academic research, which kind of got forgotten, we can take inspiration from that and start building a new generation of data science tools. So that was mostly my introduction. And I just got so excited about this whole topic and seeing the possibilities there that I just couldn't really stop like thinking about it. And that's also how Deepnote was born.
Thanks for watching this clip. Luckily for you, I picked 2 more clips that I think you might really enjoy. Either watch those or maybe check out the full episode.